Hey guys, this is the Twins of Destruction here. We are making, or I am making, another Arno cosplay. It is the white shirt, white undershirt. I have another t-shirt that I am also going to use. Um, I'm going to make the frill-like things that go right underneath the collar. I will be using another shirt. I'll be using slack on it like that, like I'm doing right now. I'll be using slack and making it and then sewing it onto the bigger shirt that is underneath the other one that I'm holding right now. And then I will make the collar along with the other parts of this whole shirt. But first I will be cutting out a part that matches the collar there. I have taken a sleeve off of that shirt, the other shirt that I showed you, and I'm cutting it now. I cut the sleeve just completely open, and as you can see right here, I'm finishing. And when the sleeve is cut completely open, I'm going to lay it right on top of the collar. And that U-type shape will be cut out in the collar. I'm going to draw a line and cut it out. That will be the whole area of the chest. Alright, here I am cutting out the U shape of the collar just so it fits pretty snugly. After I lay it down, the next thing that you would do would be to sew it on, which I'm going to do shortly. Whenever you sew it, which I'm also going to show you shortly, you will need to bunch up the fabric with your fingers just a tiny bit, just to make it noticeable. You might need some trial and error for this. To bunch up your fingers with the fabric and put the stitch through side by side. Just side by side, as far down as you think you should go. It's all about personal preference here. Alright, there are the first two scrunches. I have made them by putting a little stitch right between in the spacing after I had sewn the other one together, so there is not a sew line between the two. So I don't know if you can see it or not, but there is a tiny stitch right between in the spacing, and there is no ugly sew line between the two. Then after that, I just reached the thread up and started stitching upwards on the other line. Now I will go right there, put another stitch, and then come back up with it, and then scrunch another piece of fabric up with my fingers, and repeat the process until you're done. Now YouTube, when you have your scrunches up at your desired length and width, you have to take that piece that you just put scrunches on and sew it. You have to sew it to the shirt itself, but be sure not to sew the shirt together. Be careful with what you're doing. Alright, I have opened up the other shirt that I was not using so I can make the actual collar part. I have made a measurement right before the logo. I started from there and I'm going all the way down the shirt. I'm giving myself a lot of extra room. And so here I will cut from there, or my measurement will be from there to there. I will cut all the way around down the seam and have a blank canvas to work on, so I can scrunch from there going down to my measurements, which everyone has their own. Just measure your neck and you can find them, and then just measure, keep scrunching and measuring off and on until you find and reach your measurements. Alright, here's the blank canvas going from right to left and up and down, obviously. Right to left will be the width of my neck, and up and down will be from my neck, the top of my neck to the bottom. You will be doing the same exact process as the previous one, but this time it will go side to side instead of up and down. Once you are done sewing downwards and you have reached your length of your liking, be sure whenever you cut the extra slack off to leave a little bit of extra room, because you don't want to be sewing on a fold that's there for what you've been doing. So leave a little bit of extra room, maybe half an inch to an inch, I'd say, just to sew it on to the rest of the collar. I had made extenders that go off of the collar piece so I can add buttons. It would be an easier way of attaching the collar instead of making it an actual collar, because you won't be able to get your head through or even out. So the buttons, or the collar, will be attached right there from the middle-ish of that collar will be attached to the collar of the original other shirt. That part will be left alone, and those buttons will hold it together because it is the back of the neck and it won't be seen. So you can use any color button, and buttonholes will go in the corresponding areas. This also makes room for easier to take off and on, because you can just undo the buttons and it just falls forward and you take it off like a regular shirt. But then again, when you button it, it looks just as good. Once you have the buttons sewn on and the holes cut in and the whole collar is completed, you have to combine it with the front part of the shirt. I would line it up evenly with the front part of the shirt and sew it just to where the other frills, I guess you can call them, are. But you will leave the back untouched because, like I said before, the buttons will take care of the back and they don't need to be sewn. If you were to look at this picture of Arno, which many have seen before, you can tell that his collar goes from his chin over to about back by his ear. At least that's what it seems. So, I have worn the collar, or buttoned it up and everything, and marked 2 spots by my chin, as you can see right here. Then I will begin to mark the other spots by my ear. Alright, I've made the first triangle. It is 2.5 inches. Yes, 2.5 inches upwards. And it is from the right side to the left. It is about 4 inches. But it all depends on your size. I guess going out can be all the same, but I measured from the left side of my chin, left or right, to my ear. Once you had figured out a good length, you could take those 2 paper pieces you made before and pin them to the top and maybe even wear it just to make sure it's good enough. This step is completely optional. You can either take 2 layers of cloth and just sew it in, or you can take cardboard, hard cardboard or whatever, and put it between the 2 just to make it stiffer. But first you have to offset the cardboard compared to the white fabric so it fits in pretty snugly. Whether you have done the cardboard method or not, you can now start to sew the pieces on the very first mark that you made, and around the second mark, just make it good enough in an evenly spaced area. I recommend that if you use the cardboard method, that you should go up and down the stitch line multiple times just to give it more support and not being able to be ripped off or anything, because it's pretty heavy compared to other fabrics because it is cardboard, but still. Here it is, the finished product for the white undershirt, but as you can see, something else is still missing. The collar piece is still sticking downwards. That is because the white collar pieces are held up by the red scarf. So here is a video of me wearing the red scarf. According from the picture, I think I'm wearing it right, and it is being held up by the collar, which looks a lot better.